Captain Jake Morrison stood at the observation deck of the space station Unity 7, looking out at the endless stars. He had been waiting for 3 hours now, watching alien ships come and go through the massive docking bays. The station was huge, bigger than any city on Earth, and filled with creatures he had only seen in science fiction movies. Just 5 years ago, his team waited behind him in the conference room. Lieutenant Commander Lisa Hayes was reading through the translation device manual for the 5th time, making sure every word would come through clearly. Chief Engineer Ben Parker was taking pictures of everything with his small camera, trying to document this historic moment. Dr. Amanda Foster kept checking her notes about the different alien species they might encounter. The door opened with a soft hiss. Ambassador Veltar walked in, followed by 3 other aliens that Morrison did not recognize. Veltar was tall and thin, with purple skin and 4 arms. His species, the Nexari, had been the first to contact Earth 6 months ago. The other aliens were even stranger. One looked like a giant insect with shiny black armor. Another had tentacles instead of arms and floated a few inches off the ground. The third was covered in scales and had yellow eyes that seemed to glow. Captain Morrison. Veltar spoke through the translation device clipped to his chest. His voice came out flat and emotionless through the machine. Thank you for coming to Unity 7. This is Commander Zethkora of the Hive Worlds, Trade Master Quinto of the Floating Cities, and General Frendoc of the Scale Empire. Morrison nodded to each of them. Pleased to meet you all. This is my team from Earth. Veltar gestured to the large table in the center of the room. Please sit. We have much to discuss about your species joining the Galactic Peace Council. As they took their seats, Morrison noticed how the aliens positioned themselves. They sat with their backs straight, hands visible on the table, almost like they were in a military formation. Everything about their behavior suggested this was serious business. The Galactic Peace Council has maintained order in this galaxy. For 3,000 of your Earth years, Veltar began, we have brought peace to over 400 species. War is almost unknown in our territories. Crime is rare. Poverty has been eliminated on most worlds. Commander Zethkora leaned forward, her insect-like mandibles clicking as she spoke. When a new species makes contact with us, they are given a choice. Join the Council and enjoy the benefits of our protection and trade networks, or remain isolated and face the consequences. Morrison looked at his team. Lisa was taking notes carefully. Ben was still taking pictures, though he was trying to be discreet about it. Amanda was watching the aliens with the focused attention of a scientist studying new specimens. What exactly does joining the Council involve? Morrison asked. Trade Master Quintal's tentacles moved in, what might have been a shrug. All member species contribute 40% of their planetary resources to the Council's collective pool. These resources are then distributed based on need and Council decisions. In return, you receive protection from hostile forces, access to advanced technology, and participation in galactic trade. 40%? Ben spoke up before Morrison could stop him. That seems like quite a lot. General Frenduck's scales shifted color from green to orange, which the translation device helpfully noted meant he was annoyed. Young species often have difficulty understanding the value of what we offer. Your Earth has no defense against asteroid impacts, solar flares, or hostile alien invasions. We provide insurance against all these threats. What happens if a species chooses not to join? Dr. Foster asked quietly. Veltar was silent for a moment. Isolation is difficult in a connected galaxy. Trade routes avoid non-member systems. Communications are restricted. Most species find it impossible to develop advanced technology without Council support. Morrison could read between the lines. It sounded like economic warfare, followed by military action if that did not work. He had studied enough history to recognize the pattern. And if isolation does not convince them? Morrison pressed Commander. Zethkara clicked her mandibles again. Stubborn species eventually require direct intervention. The Council cannot allow dangerous technologies to develop outside our oversight. It is for the good of all civilized beings. The room fell quiet. Morrison looked at his team again. Lisa had stopped taking notes and was staring at the aliens with a mixture of shock and anger. Ben had put his camera away and was clenching his fists under the table. Amanda was very still, the way she got when she was thinking hard about a problem. I see, Morrison said slowly. So our choices are to give you 40% of everything we produce and let you make decisions for us, or face economic blockade followed by military conquest. You make it sound so harsh, Trade Master Quintal said, his tentacles rippling. The Council provides structure, purpose, and security. Member species are much happier than they were before joining. We have eliminated the chaos of independent development. Morrison stood up from the table. His team immediately stood with him, a gesture that was not lost on the aliens. Gentlemen, ladies, I appreciate you taking the time to explain this to us. I think we need to discuss this among ourselves. Of course, Peltar said, but do not take too long. The Council's patience is not unlimited, and there are security concerns about unmonitored human activities in your solar system. Morrison smiled, the same easy smile he had used when telling his high school principal that he had not been the one who put a car on the school roof. Thanks for the warning. We will definitely keep that in mind. As they walked back toward their shuttle, Ben whispered, Did we just get threatened by a bunch of space aliens? Multiple times, Lisa answered quietly. Dr. Foster was quiet until they reached the shuttle bay. As they were doing the pre-flight checks, she finally spoke. Jake, I do not think they understand what they just did. Morrison was running through the engine startup sequence. What do you mean, Amanda? They just told a species that fought 2 world wars, survived a nuclear standoff that lasted decades, and currently has 7 billion people who cannot agree on what to have for breakfast, that we need to submit to their authority or face the consequences. Morrison finished the startup and began backing the shuttle away from the station. Through the view screen, they could see Unity 7 growing smaller as they headed back toward Earth. Yeah, Morrison said, still smiling. I do not think they have done their homework on human history. As they entered hyperspace for the journey home, none of them noticed the small alien probe that had attached itself to their shuttle's hull, or the fact that their entire conversation in the conference room had been recorded and transmitted to Council headquarters. The first phase of humanity's introduction to galactic politics was complete. The second phase was about to begin, and neither side was prepared for what was coming. 6 months had passed since Captain Morrison returned from Unity 7 with the Council's ultimatum. The response from Earth had been swift and unanimous. Every nation, every government, every major corporation had agreed on one thing. They would not submit to alien rule. General Mike Collins stood in the newly built command center, buried deep beneath the Colorado mountains. The facility had been constructed in record time, using technology reverse-engineered from the alien probe they had found attached to Morrison's shuttle. Around him, dozens of technicians monitored screens showing the positions of Council ships that now surrounded the entire solar system. Status report, Collins said to his aide, Lieutenant Karen Moore. The blockade is holding steady at the edge of the system, sir. No ships in or out for the past 3 weeks. They are jamming all our long-range communications, but our internal networks are working fine. Collins nodded. The blockade had been expected. Dr. Kevin Nash, the head of Earth's new Xenotechnology division, had predicted it would happen within 6 months of their refusal. What the aliens did not know was that humans had been preparing for this moment since the day Morrison returned in a laboratory complex in Nevada. Dr. Susan Wright was putting the finishing touches on humanity's first defensive grid. The alien probe had contained more technology than the Council probably intended to share. Human engineers had taken their energy weapons and made them smaller and more efficient. They had studied their shield generators and built better ones. Most importantly, they had figured out how to make their faster-than-light engines work better than the originals. The test firing went perfectly. Dr. Wright reported to Collins over the secure video link. The new plasma cannons are 3 times more powerful than the alien versions, and they use half the energy. The shield generators can protect an entire city block with just 1 unit. Collins smiled grimly. How many can you produce? We have factories on 3 continents working around the clock. By the end of the month, we will have enough to protect every major population center on Earth. The space-based defenses will be ready 2 weeks after that. Meanwhile, on Mars, the human colony was expanding faster than anyone had thought possible. Commander Jack Wilson oversaw the construction of the largest mining operation in human history. The Red Planet's resources were being converted into ships, weapons, and habitats at an incredible rate. The new ships are ready for testing, Wilson reported during the daily briefing. We built them using the alien designs, but with human improvements. They are faster, more maneuverable, and carry twice the firepower of comparable Council vessels. The aliens watching from their blockade ships had no idea what was happening inside the solar system. Their sensors could detect some activity, but human jamming technology, also improved from captured alien equipment, kept the details hidden. Council President Seth Kora sat in her command ship, reviewing reports from the blockade fleet. Commander Zelenoth, a veteran of 12 previous pacification campaigns, assured her that the humans would surrender within a standard year. Every species breaks eventually, Zelenoth explained through the translation system. First they try to negotiate. Then they attempt to find loopholes in our demands. Finally, they realize they have no choice and submit. The humans are following the exact same pattern. What Zelenoth did not know was that the humans were not trying to find loopholes. They were learning everything they could about Council technology, tactics, and weaknesses. Every communication between Council ships was being intercepted and decoded. Every energy signature was being analyzed. Every piece of alien equipment that came within range was being scanned and studied. Dr. Amanda Foster had been promoted to head of the new Xenobiology Research Division. Her team was working around the clock to understand not just alien technology, but alien psychology. They studied the recorded conversations from Unity 7, analyzed communication patterns in the intercepted messages, and built psychological profiles of different alien species. The Council species all share certain traits, she explained to a meeting of Earth's military leaders. They think in terms of dominance and submission. They cannot understand cooperation between equals. When they see strength, they assume it will be used for conquest. When they see mercy, they assume it means weakness. Admiral Ryan Brooks, newly appointed commander of Earth's Space Forces, found this information very useful. So they expect us to either surrender completely or fight to the death. Exactly, Dr. Foster confirmed. They have no experience with proportional response or strategic restraint. This gives us a significant advantage. The Council's first probe into the solar system came exactly 8 months after the blockade began. Commander Zelenoth led a scouting fleet of 20 ships toward Earth, expecting to find a broken civilization ready to surrender. Instead, they found something that shocked them to their core. The human defense fleet that met them was perfectly coordinated. Ships moved in formations that the aliens had never seen before, using tactics that seemed to anticipate every Council maneuver. The human vessels were clearly built using Council technology, but they were faster and more agile than anything in the alien fleet. Admiral Brooks commanded the defense from his flagship, the Liberty. His orders to the fleet were simple and clear. Disable, do not destroy. Capture what you can. Show them we could have ended this quickly if we wanted to. The battle lasted only 30 minutes. Half of Zelenoth's ships were captured intact, there. Crews unharmed, but their vessels completely disabled. The other half retreated in confusion, unable to understand how they had been so thoroughly outmatched. The most shocking moment came when Admiral Brooks opened a communication channel to Commander Zelenoth's damaged command ship. Commander, this is Admiral Brooks of the Earth Defense Fleet. Do you require medical assistance for your crew? Zelenoth stared at the communication screen in disbelief. In 3,000 years of Council expansion, no defeated enemy had ever offered medical aid to their captors. The concept was so alien to him that he could not even process it at first. I do not understand, Zelenoth finally replied. You have defeated us. Why do you offer help? Because your crew is injured and we can help them, Brooks replied simply. We will return your ships and your people after we have repaired the damage. We are not interested in conquest. The captured alien ships were released 3 days later, fully repaired and with their crews treated for injuries. Along with them came a simple message for the Council, recorded by Captain Morrison himself. We did not want this conflict, but we were prepared for it. You can end this blockade any time. You choose. We will not attack you unless you attack us first. But remember this demonstration the next time you mistake our desire for peace as a sign of weakness. The message spread through the Council fleet like wildfire. For the first time in their long history of conquest, they had encountered a species that could defeat them, but chose not to destroy them. The implications were terrifying. The news of Commander Zelenoth's defeat spread through Council space faster than anyone expected. Trade Master Felinari of the Veltari merchant guilds was the first to notice the effects. His cargo ships were being turned away from neutral systems, where they had traded for centuries. The independent worlds are asking too many questions, Felinari reported during an emergency council session. They want to know why we cannot defeat a single primitive species. Some are even refusing to accept our currency. What Felinari did not mention was the other problem. Human-made goods were appearing on black markets throughout Council space. Somehow, despite the blockade, human products were getting out of the solar system. Tools that worked better than Council-approved equipment. Medical supplies that were more effective than anything the aliens had developed. Food that tasted better than the standard rations distributed to member species. On Earth, Captain Alex Turner was preparing for humanity's most dangerous mission yet. His ship, the Pioneer, had been specially modified with the best human technology. Stealth systems that could fool Council sensors. Weapons that could disable enemy ships without destroying them. Most importantly, a diplomatic team trained to make contact with species outside Council control. Remember, we are not conquerors. Dr. Carol Martinez told the crew during their final briefing. We are offering friendship and fair trade. Let them make their own choices about what they want to do. The Pioneer's first destination was a small system on the edge of Council space. Intelligence reports suggested that a group of refugees had established a hidden colony there. These were beings who had fled Council rule and were struggling to survive on their own. When the Pioneer arrived, they found exactly what the reports had described. The Zephyrian refugees lived in makeshift shelters on a barely habitable planet. Their ships were old and breaking down. Their food supplies were running low. They had been hiding from Council patrols for over 2 years. Elder Kindle, the leader of the refugee group, was suspicious when the human ship appeared. Are you Council agents? He asked through the translation device. Have you come to take us back? Captain Turner removed his helmet and stepped out of his shuttle alone, his hands empty and visible. "We are humans from Earth. We heard you needed help." The simple statement confused Kindle. In his experience, no one offered help without expecting something in return. "What do you want from us?" "Nothing," Dr. Martinez replied as she joined. "Turner, we want to help because it is the right thing to do." Over the next week, human engineers worked alongside the Zephyrians to repair their equipment. Human doctors treated the sick and injured. Human farmers helped them set up better food, production systems. In return, the Zephyrians shared their knowledge of Council operations, military tactics, and political weaknesses. "The Council rules through fear," Elder Kindle explained. "They make examples of species that resist. Our homeworld was strip-mined for rare minerals after we protested their mining quotas. Millions died. The rest of us became refugees." This information was exactly what Dr. Foster back on Earth had been hoping to find. The psychological profiles she had been building were proving correct. The Council maintained power through intimidation, not actual strength. They had never faced an enemy that could match their military capabilities, but the most valuable intelligence came from the Zephyrian archives. These refugees had been Council citizens for over 500 years before fleeing. They knew the location of every major military base, the composition of every fleet, and most importantly, which species were happy with Council rule and which were not. At least 30% of Council species are only members because they fear the consequences of leaving, Elder Kindle revealed. They stay because they have no choice, not because they believe in the Council's mission. Within 6 months, human ships were making contact with oppressed species throughout neutral space. Each encounter followed the same pattern. Humans would arrive, offer assistance without demanding anything in return, and establish trade relationships that bypassed Council authority entirely. The effects were immediate and dramatic. Species that had been struggling under Council taxation suddenly had access to better technology and fair trade agreements. Worlds that had been strip-mined for resources received equipment to begin rebuilding. Refugees who had been hiding in the outer systems found safe havens and new opportunities. Back in Council space, the leadership was growing increasingly alarmed. Intelligence reports from Spymaster Threndock painted a disturbing picture. Human influence was spreading faster than any military conquest could have achieved. "They are not taking territory," Threndock reported to an emergency session. "They are taking loyalty. Species are choosing to align with humans instead of us, and we cannot stop them without admitting that our own members are free to leave." President Seth Cora slammed her forearms on the conference table. "How is this possible? We have the largest military in the galaxy. We control the major trade routes. We have maintained order for 3,000 years. Ambassador Veltar, who had been studying human behavior since their first meeting, had a theory. "I believe the humans are using a strategy we have never encountered before. They are winning through kindness instead of conquest. Our species cannot compete with that approach." The breaking point came when the Alterian system, a longtime Council member, formally requested human protection from Council mining operations. The Alterians had been providing rare crystals to the Council for over a century, but the mining was destroying their ocean ecosystems. When Council enforcement ships arrived to collect the scheduled shipment, they found human vessels already. In the system, Captain Danny Foster, commanding the escort fleet, opened communications with the lead Council ship. "This system is under human protection," Foster announced calmly. "The Alterians have requested our assistance in defending their sovereign rights. We suggest you leave peacefully." The Council commander, Admiral Kethmer, was outraged. "You have no authority here. This system belongs to the Council." "Actually," Captain Foster replied, "we checked the original membership agreements. The Alterians never surrendered their sovereignty. They agreed to provide resources in exchange for protection." Since the Council is now threatening them instead of protecting them, the agreement is void. This legal argument had never been used before because no species had ever been strong enough to enforce it. But humans had studied Council law as carefully as they had studied Council technology. They knew exactly which agreements could be challenged, and which species had grounds to withdraw from Council membership. The standoff lasted for 3 days. Admiral Kethmer's fleet could have destroyed the human ships, but the humans had made it clear that any attack would result in full-scale war. For the first time in Council history, they were facing an enemy that could actually threaten their existence. When Kethmer finally withdrew, the news spread throughout the galaxy within hours. The mighty Galactic Peace Council had backed down from a confrontation with humans. Species that had been considering rebellion suddenly realized they had options other than submission or destruction. Within a month, 12 more systems had requested human protection. The Council's 3,000-year monopoly on galactic politics was crumbling, and they had no idea how to stop it. Fleet Admiral Kethmer stood on the bridge of his massive command ship, staring at the largest armada ever assembled in galactic history. 12 different species had contributed their best warships to this final assault on human space. Over 3,000 vessels stretched out before him, each one capable of destroying entire planets. "This ends today," Kethmer announced to his assembled commanders. "The humans have made a mockery of Council authority for too long. We will demonstrate what happens to species that challenge our rule." President Zeth Kora had given him clear orders: destroy the human fleet, occupy their worlds, and make an example that would prevent other species from rebelling. The Council could not afford to show any more weakness. What none of them knew was that Admiral Sarah Kim had been expecting this attack for months. Human intelligence networks throughout the galaxy had been tracking the fleet's assembly. Every ship type, every weapon system, every tactical doctrine had been studied and countered. "Remember the plan," Admiral Kim told her fleet commanders during their final briefing. "We are not here to destroy them. We are here to prove a point. Show them that we could end this war quickly if we chose to, but we prefer a different path." The human fleet waiting at the edge of the solar system was smaller than the Council armada, but every ship was a masterpiece of human engineering. Captain Danny Foster commanded a squadron of stealth ships that could appear and disappear at will. Commander Melissa Gray led a group of fast attack vessels that could outmaneuver anything the Council had. Admiral Ryan Brooks controlled the heavy battle cruisers that served as the fleet's backbone. When the Council fleet dropped out of hyperspace, they expected to find frightened humans hiding behind planetary defenses. Instead, they found an organized battle formation broadcasting a message in every known galactic language. "Council fleet, this is Admiral Sarah Kim of the Solar Defense Force. We do not want this fight, but we are ready if you insist. You have one chance to withdraw peacefully. Choose wisely." Admiral Kethmer laughed when he heard the message. "One small human fleet thinks it can threaten us? Begin the attack. Show them the price of defying the Council." What happened next would be remembered throughout the galaxy for generations. The human fleet did not fight like any enemy the Council had ever faced. Instead of trying to destroy as many ships as possible, they targeted specific systems with surgical precision. Engines were disabled, not destroyed. Weapons were neutralized, not exploded. Life support systems were left completely untouched. Captain Foster's stealth squadron appeared behind the Council lines and disabled 3 battleships before anyone realized they were there. Commander Gray's fast attack ships moved through the enemy formation like dancers, their precise shots taking out weapon systems without causing casualties. Admiral Brooks' heavy cruisers engaged the largest Council ships head-on, their advanced shields absorbing enemy fire while their weapons disabled targets with minimal damage. The battle that was supposed to last days was over in 3 hours. Half the Council fleet was dead in space, powerless but intact. The other half was retreating in panic, unable to understand how they had been so completely outmaneuvered. But the moment that truly broke the Council's will came when Admiral Kim opened a communication channel to Admiral Kethfer's disabled flagship. The Council commander expected to be taken prisoner or executed. Instead, he heard something that shocked him to his core. "Admiral Kethfer, this is Admiral Kim. Do you require assistance with your damaged systems? We have repair ships standing by." Kethfer stared at the communication screen in disbelief. His ship was helpless, his fleet was defeated, and his enemy was offering to help him. In 3,000 years of galactic warfare, nothing like this had ever happened. "I do not understand," Kethfer said slowly. "You have won. Why do you offer aid to your enemies?" Admiral Kim's response was broadcast to every ship in both fleets, ensuring that her words would reach the entire galaxy. "Because we are not your enemies, Admiral. We never were. You came here to destroy us, but we chose to disable you instead. We could have ended this war in the first hour by destroying every ship in your fleet. We have weapons that could turn your vessels into dust. We have technology that could make your entire species extinct, but we chose not to use them." She paused, letting her words sink in throughout the listening fleet. "We want you to remember this moment, Admiral. Remember that the humans you call primitive could have eliminated you completely, but chose mercy instead. Remember that the species you tried to conquer offered you help when you were helpless. Remember this the next time you mistake our desire for peace as a sign of weakness." The rescue and repair operation took 2 full days. Human engineers worked alongside Council technicians to restore power and life support to damaged ships. Human doctors treated injured alien crew members. Human supply ships provided food and medical supplies to anyone who needed them. Admiral Kethfer found himself working alongside Admiral Kim to coordinate the repairs. The human admiral was nothing like what Council propaganda had taught him to expect. She was professional, competent, and genuinely concerned about the welfare of both fleets. "Why?" Kethfer asked during a break in their repair work. "Why show mercy to an enemy that came to destroy you?" Admiral Kim looked out at the mixed fleet of human and alien ships working together. "Because we believe that enemies can become friends if given the chance. Because we think cooperation is better than conquest. Because we hope that someday the galaxy can be united by choice instead of force." When the Council fleet finally departed, they carried with them more than just repaired ships. They carried a message that would transform galactic politics forever. The most powerful military force in known space had been defeated by an enemy that chose not to destroy them. Back on their homeworlds, the returning Council forces told stories that their leaders did not want to hear. Stories of human mercy and compassion. Stories of enemies offering help instead of demanding surrender. Stories of a species that could have ruled the galaxy, but chose not to. Within weeks, a first Council member species formally withdrew from the organization, then another, then 10 more. The Great Galactic Peace Council that had ruled for 3 millennia found itself facing a rebellion. Unlike anything in their history, the humans had not conquered the galaxy through military might. They had not taken territory or demanded tribute. Instead, they had offered something the galaxy had never seen before. A choice. The choice to be free, to cooperate as equals, and to build something better than what had come before. Ambassador Veltar, now serving as the Council's desperate liaison to humanity, would later write that the most terrifying thing about humans was not their weapons or their tactics. It was their absolute belief that the galaxy could be a better place, and their willingness to make that belief a reality. The Council that had once ruled through fear now lived in terror of something far more dangerous than any weapon. They lived in terror of hope.